technology. It is 6:30 and we'll call this meeting to order. Welcome to the City of Louisville Planning and Zoning Commission meeting over Zoom and in person. Today is August the 3rd. We do have a quorum present. I want to give everyone listening from home some instructions on how to speak if you desire to. If you are viewing on your computer or through the smartphone application, press the raise your hand button. If you have called into the meeting, press *9 to raise your hand to speak. Once your hand is raised, staff will bring this to my attention and we will let you speak after the item is read and the staff presentation given. If you are having trouble using these features, please email planning@cityoflouisville.com or call 817-938-4409 for assistance from staff. The first item on the agenda for tonight is the approval of the minutes from the July 20th joint meeting with the Overlay District Board. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen.
Second.
Second by Alvin. All in favor, please vote.
It's not giving me that option.
No option?
Yeah, not giving me that.
Or give me 1 second.
Hang on. We can do a voice vote if we need to.
You have the option to vote.
Should be coming up.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Please vote. Vote passes 6-0. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding zoning and a special use permit. This public hearing is a consideration of a zone change request from Planned Development Mixed Use District and Light Industrial District to Planned Development Mixed Use District for 10.383 acres, legally described as Delancey Addition, Block A, Lot 2, and Old Town Station Addition, Block A, Lot 1, located at 421 East College Street, as requested by Tommy Rodas, Toll Brothers Incorporated, the applicant, on behalf of REDEVX1 LP, and Adrian Moore, the property owners.
Good evening, commissioners. Give me just 1 second to pull up a brief presentation I have for you. So I wanted to start with first looking at the area, because this property, a large portion of it is already zoned planned development mixed use for an apartment community. So you can see on the left side of the screen is the map of the property we're talking about tonight, and on the right side of the screen is the existing area that was already rezoned. And you can see that the applicant has added this wrecker yard to the property to be used for multifamily. You can see that a bit more clearly in this image here, where you can see this area that is currently zoned light industrial is proposed to be incorporated into the planned development. If we look at the concept plan, this one here is the old concept plan. You can see that they've expanded the buildings to the west, and they've changed up the configuration of the building slightly based on the new area. Some of the other key differences, in addition to the area with the planned development zoning change, are an increase in the unit count. Because we are adding more area, they are increasing the units from 368 to a maximum of 430. They are currently only showing 420 units, but if 430 could be achieved, that would be permitted. They would still need to maintain the same parking ratios and general elevations and general layout. The previous plan development did call for one of the buildings to have a retail-ready ground floor along College Street. This is being preserved, and in fact, that retail-ready area is being increased from approximately 14,000 square feet to 23,000 square feet. In addition, there are enhanced standards being added to the text of the plan development that will make it more feasible and economical to transition to retail space in the future should the market become ready. before the market's ready, those spaces may be finished out as apartments. They will just have taller ceilings and slightly different standards for the building in those areas so that it could be converted. They have provided a landscape plan. They are following the landscape standards from our chapter 9.5, which is our Old Town Development Ordinance. And that basically makes sure that this is consistent with what's happened across the street with the Aura Old Town Apartments. And you can see there are some significant changes to the style of the building in terms of the architecture. Where previously we had sort of an Italianate feel, we've gone for a more modern feel, but it is still meeting with the Old Town area. 80% of the elevations that face the street will be brick or stone, and that's indicated by these red lines here. So 80% of those elevations will be brick or stone. On the elevations facing the DTCA rail line, those will be minimum average 20% brick. And the applicant has provided us more detailed elevations. So let me jump to those. And they've also provided some renderings so you get an idea of what that might look like if you're walking down College Street from the station towards Old Town. And then if you're looking back at this project from Old Town towards College Street, and that picture's not loading very well, I apologize for that. This is the two 80% masonry veneers that face their main drive aisle into the property. This is the retail ready concept, and you can see there's higher floor plates and there's some room for some hanging signage for a potential conversion to a coffee shop. In addition, they're adding some additional standards such that those retail ready spaces will be built in a way that is easy for them to transition, so there won't be post-tension slab except for on the edges, and they will plan in advance for any flumes or internal pipes that might be needed for ventilation for commercial uses. In addition, they'll identify an area where a grease trap could be installed should a restaurant ever move into the property. This is the view from College Street. And then this would be the review from the DCA rail line. So they've maintained the general aesthetic, but they've switched the materials to siding as opposed to brick. So they are proposing a few alternate standards that were requested last time. And one of those is to reduce the minimum dwelling unit size to 500 feet with an average of 650 square feet. You remember we did have a public hearing on just amending our code. However, that amendment hasn't been officially adopted at the time we put out this packet. And once council approves it, it really does take 10 days or 14 days to go into official effect. So they do need that variance still. They want to reduce the minimum side yard actually from 6.5 feet to, or minimum rear yard from 6.5 feet to 5 feet. They want to allow a reduction in parking from 2 spaces per unit to 4 spaces per unit. And these were granted with the previous plan development request. And then the code does require that they do a 6-foot masonry wall, a screening wall, opaque screening wall along the edge of the property as they're adjacent to industrial uses and single family uses. They are requesting a variance from that to use a 6-foot ornamental decorative screen. And then in the immediate adjacent property to the west, as there's a shared access drive, to omit that screening altogether since it's not feasible to put in with a shared access drive. So you can see there's a shared driveway through here that they would be reusing. And I'll pull up with their site plan. You can see the access would come through here and it's a shared drive that would go to the back. So that's the third entrance to their site. It's the most western one. The main entrance is here at the center, and then there's also a third one that's closer to the rail line. But obviously they couldn't get a screening wall in here. So it is staff's recommendation that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the zone change request as set forth with one addition, and working to make sure that the retail ready units really are ADA accessible. Our building official had suggested some language which the applicants had agreed to, which is adding a section on accessibility under the retail ready standards. Number 6, which would read any required accessible units and type A units in the retail ready area will not count toward the minimum needed for the overall development. And that basically states that every apartment complex is required to have a number of units that are accessible. And if they put those in the retail-ready area, since that might transition over time, those wouldn't count towards that minimum requirement. And then entrances to each retail-ready space must comply with Texas accessibility standards for a public space at the time of initial construction. And that's because going back to add in ramping can be quite expensive and probably be cost prohibitive. So that needs to be done up front. There needs to be an ADA access point to the fronts of what would be shops from the beginning. So staff recommends approval with those changes. We do have Tommy Rodas, who would like to speak on behalf of Toll Brothers. And in addition, we do have some other attendees both in person and virtually this evening.
Okay, before I open the public hearing, commissioners, do we have any questions for staff?
I had a question, Madam Chair. My question was, I believe in your discussion, you mentioned that it's not in the Old Town district, but did you mention that it met the requirements of the design?
Yes,
district?
So it's not technically within our Old Town design boundary area. However, because it's immediately across the street from Old Town and on the way from the train station to Old Town, we felt that it would be best that it try to meet those standards as much as possible. And so we really reviewed trying to make this PD line up more with the Old Town standards than with our typical standards.
And is it in line with, I guess, our overall, I believe it's 2025 vision for plan development?
Yes, it is. It's specifically supporting the goals of growing Old Town.
Okay.
I have a question as well, and this may be about to be answered, but the reason I would assume that the retail is not ready yet is because the population wouldn't support it, but the goal that over time is to have that transition to retail once the population supports it?
Correct, and that's exactly what Retail Ready allows for, is that flexibility with the uses until there's a market for retail, until people are really using the rail station and coming and going on College Street, or that there's just enough in Old Town in general to support some kind of small shops, neighborhood services at this location. They could rent it out for residential uses, but if the market does evolve to where there is a market for some neighborhood service uses, commercial uses, small coffee shop type uses, something like that, then they'd be in a position where they could convert those spaces and then capitalize on those higher rents for commercial uses.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead then and open the public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak, please, I think, sign in and state your name, please. Thank you. You're welcome to do so now.
Hi, I'm Tommy Rodas with Toll Brothers Apartment Living. We are here tonight with our development proposal for 420 units. We're a division of Toll Brothers Home Building, which is a luxury home builder. We've been in business for 50 years. 25 of those years we've been in the Texas area. Our apartment living division has been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for about 5 years. And we have a handful of communities in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We do not have one in Louisville yet, but we're really excited for the opportunity. And I, along with our development staff, are here tonight to answer any questions you might have about Toll or our development. So I really appreciate your consideration.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Rodas?
I have three, actually.
Okay.
What will be the average unit size? What are mostly ones, mostly twos?
Mostly one bedrooms. The average unit size will be a little bit less than 900 square feet, and we'll be in the neighborhood of 75 to 80% one bedrooms, and the balance being two bedrooms and a handful of three bedrooms.
Okay, that's one. Will the complex be gated?
So it will have a fence wrapping around a good portion of it. And security gates will sort of provide some security for our residents. Some of the parking will be open. but not all of it.
Okay, thank you. And then what's the possible rental range?
It's a little.
I know that'll change.
Yeah, well, okay, so on a per square foot basis, it's less than $2 per square foot.
Okay. It's interesting because the original plan development was my first act on planning and zoning, so it's like deja vu.
Yes.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Mr. Rodas?
Thank you all.
Okay. Do we have anybody online or on Zoom who's wishing to speak?
We do have one attendee on Zoom, but they have not raised their hands or indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, all right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, having no one come forward, I'll go ahead now and close the public hearing. Commissioners, is there any discussion? Comments?
I just want to make a comment. I think it looks beautiful, and I think it's only going to make our town even more attractable to others around our surrounding areas. So thank you, Toll Brothers, and thank you for the city of Louisville.
I second that. Okay, having no more discussion, then I'll go ahead and ask for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Sheila.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but Karen, I want to know if that's with the additional language about the accessibility that I read.
Yes, move to approve with all the additional language.
Okay, and that was seconded by Sheila. Please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Final item on the agenda for tonight is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Francis,
Second?
second by Jordan. Please vote. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.